Welcome back, everybody. Lostboys Cypher Circle is back in session. If you didn't know, now you do. This is a show where I bring all kinds of artists, whether you're a writer or a poet or a rapper or a musician or an artist or an actor or whatever it is. This is the place to come show off your art, connect with other artists, and just a really cool place to express yourself free of any judgment or anything like that. We do it every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you want to come on the show, message me on Facebook at Dylan Lawler or email me at lostboy420x@gmail.com. That's Facebook Dylan Lawler or lostboy420x@gmail.com. And make sure y'all go follow us on all major or most major platforms, all platforms you can follow podcasts, and a few social medias. We got Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the social medias right now. Every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, we go live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This is our first official night live on Instagram. I finally figured out how to get it to work. And the following day, meaning tomorrow, we will post this episode on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Can I get that back up here? Thanks. Google Podcasts, Amazon, Audible, iHeart, Pandora, and anywhere else you find podcasts. So make sure you go check that out and give us a follow. And make sure you also go stay tuned and check out our channels for our sister show, is what I like to call it. It's called Lostboys Presents Deep Cuts. It's where I bring artists on one-on-one and we kind of have a one-on-one conversation, and I get to go deeper into their mind and kind of figure out how they tick. It's a lot of fun. We put out about 6 episodes, as well as some clips. So go check that out on YouTube. And like I said, subscribe, follow, like, all that helps. And also make sure you stay tuned for our Lostboys Presents Lost in the Woods with myself and Mr. Brandon Coombs over here. We take a GoPro and we strap it to our chest and we go out in the woods and we hike and we fish and we do all sorts of cool stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And if you want to donate to us at all, anything from 10 cents to $10 will help. And you can do that on Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal, all the same tag, LostBoy420X. Don't forget the X like X-Men, or you will type in someone else's tag. And we don't want you sending money to some random people. So LostBoy420X. And if you want to ask us anything during the show, drop some fire emojis down in the comments, put some fire trucks to put them out. Comment section is open, so make sure you hit it up. That being said, before we move on with the show, I like to say every week that this show for me is like a therapy session. It's my weekly therapy session, and a lot of the artists I bring on here feel the same way, because it's a way to express ourselves. Sometimes we get into some triggering topics that could hurt your feelings. They could bring about trauma that you've experienced in your life and bring it back up to the surface. That is not the intention. The intention is to just express ourselves and get out our inner demons and have our own therapy session. But if anything does trigger you in the slightest, whether it be artist performing or audience watching, feel free to click out at any time. No one will fault you in the slightest. So that's the trigger warning. Also, I usually like to say, because this is a therapy session, the point of it, to me, the point of this show is to reach out to people and use my art to reach out to people and inspire them and lift them up and help themselves, and then use their art to help other people. And we can't do that if we're bottling it all up. If we're keeping it all inside and we're not talking to people, we're not expressing our feelings. That's what this is about, is coming on here and expressing our feelings. So what I kind of like to say is, the hardest part about being in a dark place is feeling like there's no one you can express your feelings to. And I'm here to tell you that there is. Whether you want to come on this show and express your feelings, or, talk to your cat or your dog or your sister, or your brother, or a coworker, there is someone who will listen, and there is someone who cares. I promise. You just have to be brave enough to reach out and speak and not keep that shit bottled up. There's also some professional hotlines I can share with you, such as lifelinecrisis.com. You can go to their website. They have some resources and some trained professionals on hand. You can also text their crisis hotline, 988. And there's also betterhelp.com, and they'll hook you up with an online therapist. And like I was saying, the hardest part about being in a dark place is not feeling like you don't have someone that you can talk to. If you don't vibe with the therapist that they hook you up with, they'll switch you out with another one free of charge and they'll keep switching you out until you find someone that you actually enjoy talking to. So I hope some people can find some help there. And yeah, let's get on with the show. Tonight, our first guest of the evening, y'all might remember him, y'all might not, but Mr. Randall Green, he's an author. You can follow him on Instagram at Randall Green. Randall, hold on. Randall Eldon Green. That's RandalEldonGreene. You can visit his website, authorgreen.com. And then you can also go to helloauthor.substack.com where he interviews other writers. So yeah, let's play his flyer and get him up here. There we go. Hey man, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Sitting through a thunderstorm. If I dive under the desk, it's because we're under a tornado watch, so it could turn into a warning.
It's gonna turn into a shelter in place.
Yeah, shelter in place. So no, it's going good. We get these frequently here out in Iowa.
Well, knock on wood, your connection is pretty good for being in a thunderstorm. Your Wi-Fi is coming through pretty clear. So appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming back. So I mean, some of us know you, some of us don't. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Sure. Yeah, so I write mostly fiction, currently revising a novel. I had my first book, novella, I would describe it as, came out in 2016 called Descriptions of Heaven. And since then I've been working on a big brick of a book and cutting it places, adding more here and there. So forever working on it, it feels like, but hopefully it'll be done sooner than later.
I feel that seems like a passion project. And it's gonna, you know what, it's gonna be worth it though. It's gonna be worth the wait. It's gonna be worth all the time and effort you put into it for sure. Sure.
All right. Yeah, for sure. I trust in the process.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what you got to do, man. You just got to trust it. And I was talking to another writer. It was either last week or the week before, and they were just saying that at a certain point, the story kind of takes on a life of its own, you know, and you just, you know, you might not end up where you thought you were going to, but the most important part is to just let those characters speak for themselves and act for themselves as if they were real people and you know, see where the story goes or whatever. At least that's what I try to do when I write fiction, is kind of let them tell the story themselves, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I have, it's a big book, so it has a plethora of characters, so a lot of mental spaces to explore.
Nice, cool. I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna share with us tonight?
I'm gonna start off with a short story called Come Light. It was originally published in Unbroken Journal, actually back in 2016, nominated for the 2017 Best Small Fictions Award. So it's a little piece I'm a tiny bit proud of because of that.
Congrats, man. All right, cool. Well, I'll drop myself out of here and I'll let you get to it.
All right. Come Light. The acrid smell of her stomach juices hits my nostrils like a belly flop. The guy is yelling, all excited because the sun is coming up, rising from the city skyline. I'm kneeling by Mabel, watching her nuzzle the gravel. We're 15 stories high. The guy yelling at us to look at the burning sun is the one who gave Mabel the shit that is making her rub her body on the rooftop. All I want to do is pull out this gun, This gun with one bullet chambered inside. I have had enough. Mabel at the bar, in the dimly lit corner, laughing with a man, leads me to grabbing her arm, and us on the street, arguing under neon lights. Sometimes Mabel is on the bed, the skin-colored chemise fitting snug around her ivory-colored torso. Her hair is dyed red or black. There's always mascara running down her face in these moments. Mabel is a movie when I'm high, a tragedy, a romance, a porno streaming, but forever buffering, stuck right before the good part. She says she can't find the change. Mabel put it in her purse. I saw her. Just fucking empty it, I say. She's digging through her purse with her long red fingernails. The change is in there. I know it. I saw her take the quarters from the top of the dresser and drop them in her purse. So I get out of the driver's side and walk around to the passengers. I open the door and grab the purse from her. I shake it out, hold it upside down, and dump everything into the wet, slushy snow. Even after I see the quarters fall, I keep shaking. Lipstick, gum, cell phone, receipts, it's all on the dirty ground. I bend over, grab the quarters out of the snow, and pay the parking meter. Mabel finds me a little later. Her hands are red from the cold. There's a run in her nylons, and her skirt is soiled around the edges. Maybe Mabel doesn't say what she wants to say. She stays silent. Maybe Mabel doesn't want to say anything at all. I do pull out the gun. I do. But whose head will I put the bullet in? Will it be hers or his or mine? Will this bullet fly through a skull, through a brain, through a life, and straight on into the sun? Snuff our glorious morning. Dawn has passed. The light has come. And I have had enough. Thank you.
Oh man, that was great. That was really fucking great. Um, First of all, I mean, just your performance and your just inflection on and every single word was fantastic. But the thing that stuck out the most to me was your description, every little detail. And you know, it was a short story, but it read like a poem because you had these like huge you had these metaphors like you know, will the bullet shoot straight through life and into the sun and end our glorious morning or something like that.
Not for
I also like the porno buffering, forever buffering stuck on right before the good part. And that like just you, but you used these you know this imagery to paint the scene and you did it very very delicately and very well, and it wasn't like didn't seem like forced, you know. It seemed it seemed poetic, and it flowed very nicely as a story, and it yeah, it had a very very poetic vibe to me. Just but every detail was there. You know, the snow, the you know you could see her the red in her the frostbite in her hands, and then you know everything from her outfit to just everything. It was so vivid, and on top of painting such a vivid picture with you know your words and just describing the scene that was actually going on, it was cut between that and then these abstract images that were metaphors that were also painting a bigger picture of the scene that was going on. It was so elegantly tied together. I loved it. I loved it.
Now, I'm so glad I expanded this story from what it originally was. The story for a few years was just a little piece of microfiction. Like this is flash fiction. It's under 500 words, but it started off as I think 2 or 3 lines, something like that. I'd written it for a contest, and there's thousands of entries, and mine, of course, didn't make an impression then. But I just decided to expand it one day, and I submitted it. I think the same day that I expanded it out, I was just at work, and there's a lot of free time in my job at the hotel. And I submitted it, and within 48 hours, the Unbroken Journal's editors got back to me and were like, "Hey, can we publish this before somebody else does?" I was like, "Yes, please do."
That's awesome, dude. That is fucking fantastic. Congratulations. And it definitely deserves it too. And I think that I don't know what it looked like before, but whatever you did to add to it and change it, it definitely worked. And that can be a tricky thing sometimes. And especially me, like I write a lot of songs and poetry, and specific rhyme schemes have to fit together. So for me, it's even harder to go back and add things.
Mm.
But even in stories, it is tremendously difficult to have, because every time, like me, I'm married to each sentence. You know what I mean? Like I can't change that. I can't take that out. I can't, I'm married to every sentence. And sometimes as a writer, you have, like, to make your stuff better, you have to accept that it can be better. You know what I mean? That this isn't
Yeah.
the best that you can do, and that it could be better.
Yeah, with Descriptions of Heaven, which I would have been editing or done editing before this was worked on. I had a professional editor working with me on the penultimate draft, and oh boy, like, man, I'll tell you what, if you want to divorce a sentence or two or half of your manuscript, get a professional editor. They will just make so many suggestions. Don't take them all.
Yeah, they'll
Absolutely
cut you
don't
down
take
to size.
But man, that was one way to disabuse me of my writing prowess. So it was a good experience, though. Absolutely.
That's good. That's good though. That's and that's how you grow. That's how you grow and like you said, don't take all the suggestions, but the only way that you can grow is by getting suggestions and advice from other people. That's really what this show is all about. It's about connecting with other people and getting their advice and their takes on things. And just and that's how we grow as artists. I heard a martial arts instructor once say that when you get at a certain point and a certain level of skill, the only thing you can do to learn more and improve your skill is to teach that skill to others, which is why old martial arts people who did martial arts their entire lives, they become instructors in their old age, is because they're, as much as they're trying to teach someone else, they're also trying to learn, and they go back over the basics and they get a deeper understanding of it. So the best way to improve yourself is to get feedback from others. Speaking of which, I'm gonna bring these other artists up to see what they thought about your story. Tasanya, what'd you think?
I wanted it to be long. I wanted it to, like, just keep going. The cliffhanger, I was just like, I wanted more. But it was that good.
I understand. I did the literary fiction thing and had that ambiguous ending that it's known for.
It was perfect.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love listening to other people's stories. I write in a vacuum for the most part, and because of that, and I'm sure most other writers can identify this. You get to a point and you look at the page and you say, "Well, that sucked," and because you really can't. You're really not listening to someone else's stories as much as you should. And I'm so happy that I had this opportunity to listen to your story, because I could almost see your thought process working as you went from each sentence, from each word to each sentence, from each sentence to each paragraph. And it was extraordinarily well constructed, and it painted pictures wonderfully, and it was inspiring to listen to. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic work, man. Fantastic work. Thank you. Appreciate it. I will catch you again in a few minutes for your second piece.
All right.
All right, cool. All right, guys. that being said, by the way, yes, Dad, I know my face is swollen. Thank you. In case anyone was wondering, I have a slight tooth infection. I'm fighting through it, but show must go on. So that being said, our second guest of the night is Mr. Ed over here, Edward Bates, or as he's known artistically, Tobin Frost. He's a poet, author, screenwriter, actor, producer, director. He's just doing it all. His production company is called Catching Smoke Films. He's got a book called Catching Smoke out on Amazon right now, and another book called Amber available on tobinfrost.com. And it is also developed into a screenplay, which they are currently trying to sell and get people to watch. So if you have any interest if you read the book and you want to see a screenplay, there's a screenplay about it. So make sure you go check that out. If you want to support him, support the production budget of this. I'm not sure if this is still a thing. This is from last time he was on, but he had a crowdfunded thing on seedandspark.com. I'm not sure if that's a thing. We'll talk to him about that in a minute, but you can also follow him on Facebook at Edward Bates. And yeah, let's play his flyer and get him up here. Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good, sir. How are you? How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thanks for I mean, besides the infection in my face. But thanks for being on.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I always like talking to artists.
Yeah, like I said, it's the best form of therapy for me. It's the best form of inspiration for me. It's the best. Anytime you can connect with other creatives is just is the best. Yeah. That's why I do it. That's why I do it every week without fail. So but I don't know. First of all, let's straighten out the crowdfunded thing. Are you still doing that or not?
Well, I will always accept money. I don't have
well, hey, yeah.
I don't have the Seed and Spark up anymore, but but my website at tobinfrost.com still accepts funding. We're still trying to raise money so we could self-produce the movie if we don't get a studio to give us millions of dollars to produce it. We're gonna do it ourselves. We think Amber is based on a true story, and it follows the life of a young homeless girl, a brave and empathetic homeless, but very troubled homeless woman, and it has a very poignant ending. And I think it's a story that should be told. So I'm definitely going to get that made one way or another. So if someone wanted to go to tobinfrost.com and make a small donation or a very, very large donation, I'd be more than happy to accept that.
Awesome. Yeah, dude. I really hope it works out for you. I mean, I hope that somebody funds you. And if not, I have all the faith in you that you will make the most amazing production that is possible.
Thank you.
And I'm actually a very strong advocate for independent artists, whether it be independent book selling or independent music, especially in the music industry. Don't even get me fucking started. Fuck the music industry. But I'm a very strong advocate for independent artists, and sometimes that can be even better than $1 million production. And one of my favorite authors, actually, he's traditionally published, but he was asked once about the about the self-publishing, and he explained it like this: if you take self-publishing basically what you're getting is a bigger piece of a smaller pie. When you take traditional, there's all these people you have to pay. And same
Right.
thing in the music industry. There's all the, you know, production assistants and PR and management and you know, advertising, you know, all these people that you have to pay. When you
Mm-hmm.
do it yourself, it's less money. You bring in less overall money, but you get more of that, you know, the more
Yes.
and you get more for your effort. You get a bigger chunk of that, and you own a bigger chunk of that,
Well, and
you
it's the
know.
control. We were talking earlier about, uh, you give your work to an editor, and they say, "Well, take this out and take that out." And
Right.
I've gone through that, and someone once said, "I'm an artist, and I'm sensitive about my crap." And I'm extraordinarily sensitive. So and I'm really married to the ideas that I put down on paper. So when someone starts saying, well, we want to take this out, or we want this person to play this role, and I get very defensive very quickly, because I know what the message is that I'm trying to tell. And it may not be, you know, my stories are never going to fit explosions and graphic sex scenes and all that kind of stuff. But the story that I have to tell is important. And so I'd rather make it myself than have someone else make it.
Yeah, you know what, man? Stay true to that too, because there's so many good you know, screen or live action adaptations that have been just fucking ruined. Like
Exactly.
the one that comes off to the top of my mind right now is the Percy Jackson series. Wonderful book series, one of the best
Mhm.
children's book series ever written. You know, it's I think second only to Harry Potter. But and don't get me wrong, the movies, they were all right, but when you read the books and the author himself wrote many angry emails to the people to the people who made his movies, bought back the rights, and now there's a show out on Disney Plus, and he's like, okay, we're going to do this right this time. They actually hired actors who are the age the kids are in the book,
Right,
not,
right.
you know, 20, 30 something year old actors. And they actually followed the storyline of the first book in the first season. And they
Hmm.
did it very, very well. It wasn't, you know, par for par, but they did it like he was an executive producer on the show this time. You
Hmm.
know, he had complete creative control, and Disney Plus was, you know, I the people over at fucking Disney and Marvel, um, people can talk shit about them all day, but like they know what the fuck they're doing,
Yeah.
and they're one of if not the biggest production company in the world.
Hmm.
Well, Disney, and then Disney owns Marvel, and Marvel's like making the highest grossing movies of all time. You
Hmm.
know, they know what they're doing, and I think that the best thing that they do is that they let their artists have complete creative control. If you notice, Justice League on the DC side, right? The regular cut of that movie is dog shit. Then you go and then you go and watch Snyder's cut, which is a 4-hour cut, and nobody wants to sit in the theater for 4 hours, of course. So they made him cut out the story he was trying to tell.
Hmm.
And yeah, he went on Joe Rogan and bitched about it. I listened to the episode, but yeah, Zack Schneider's vision of that movie was fucking tastic, but they
Yeah.
didn't let him have the creative control that he needed to have to make it as good as a Marvel movie. If they let Zack Schneider do what Kevin Feige does, or
Hmm.
what any, you know, of those, you know, producers over at Marvel do, they would fucking be, you know, they would still have, they would have box office hits, you know,
Well,
but yeah.
the story Amber, because I have taken the screenplay to a couple of different people, and two studios said, uh, in the real story, and it's based on real people, Amber and I forgot his name. Well, Amber and the other protagonist, there's a 40-year age difference between the two, and worlds apart in demeanor and education and things of that nature. But the studio is like, well, couldn't these two be lovers? I was like, no, no, they're like father and daughter, and now you want them in bed together. I know who
That's
these people are. That's you can't do that. You can't. Yeah, and I was like, and there, but that's the cookie cutter formula that some places follow.
they
And
do that. They did that with or everybody online. Thankfully, Netflix. Um, as far as I know, I haven't really seen the newest season of The Witcher, but The Witcher series, The Witcher, the guy with the white hair, and then Freya Allen, the girl who plays Ciri, I think is her name. They're supposed to be like it's supposed to be like his adopted daughter, basically, in that
right,
world.
right.
That's like, but then everybody on the internet, because the actress who's playing her is 18 and they're both attractive people, everybody on the internet is like, oh, let's that thing where they ship people. Or I
Mm-hmm.
wish all the people, here's what we need to do: everybody who ships needs to get shipped to an island. Everyone who ships other actors needs to get shipped to an island somewhere and just get off the fucking internet. And honestly, it was kind of like when you think about it, it's a little fucking disgusting because it's like, yo, that's supposed to be her dad.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
why are you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
oh, they're not blood related. What is this, Pornhub? It's Netflix. This is Netflix.
and that because in my book, he is her adopted father. They see each other as father and daughter.
Yeah,
So
and that's
yeah,
yeah.
and
It's
these
just
people, why couldn't they be in, like, because that's not the story. That's
and
that's
what
not the
and
story. Yeah.
one, that's not the story, and two, what fucking message are we trying to send here? What
Right.
are we?
Right.
Why? You know what I mean? We're going to tell people that this is okay. That's
Well,
not.
yeah. Well, like I said, it's a 40-year age difference. She's kind of grunge hip hop. He's this old, sophisticated guy. That would never happen in the real world. Those two were the only reason that these two people ended up together is because of tragedy. That's the only reason they ever met. And they're not going to, they may have affection towards each other in a father-daughter way, but they're never going to,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think people. I think it really comes down to money, and it's about it's. I think really it's when executives or production company ask you to do things like that. I think it's about the shock value. It's
Yeah.
something called shock baiting, and it's like clickbaiting. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my god, they did what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of that, and I think it's to get people to buy it, click on it,
Well,
you
right.
know
Exactly. But
and of course, if you turn it into that, there are going to be a million teenage girls who fucking pick it up and buy it. There are going to be a million teenage girls who have, some kind of fantasy and it's going to go fucking super viral. I'm sure,
or
but
even
that's
worse, a
not,
million
that's,
old guys that are going to
that's
buy it.
right. Exactly. That's even creepier.
Exactly.
That's even worse.
Exactly. A bunch of old
And it's like,
60-year-olds.
but that's not our audience. You know what I mean? That's not your target audience. You're not writing it for just because it's about a teenage girl and an old dude. You're not necessarily writing it well, not in that aspect, at least. You know
Right.
what I mean? Not
Well,
not as a sexual fantasy, not as a fucking
right.
they
Right.
do that with a lot of shit, man. And it's all about the money. It's all about the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, it is. And it breaks my heart. But it's going to get made. It's going to get made.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, so what are you sharing with us tonight?
Well, a lot of my writing is therapeutic, and I think a lot of writers will admit to that as well. And this poetic prose, it's a little bit more than poetry, a little less than a short story, but it is about discovery, dealing with your past, and finding your way to your future. And
Okay.
it's called Ghosts of the Past.
Ghosts of the past. All right, cool. I'll get myself out of here and let you get to it.
Excellent, thank you. Ghosts of the Past by Tobin Frost. In the twilight of a broken heart where ghosts linger in the shadows, a futile wish dances with melancholic winds. Upon these haunted plains echoes the memories, the painful whispers of a past undying, the specters of trampled dreams and withered hopes. Their cold fingers roam through the tunnels of tormented wind, leaving trails of frost upon a heart once warm. Cloaked in the frail threads of lost chances and regrets, the ghosts gather in silence. Clouds of frailty crawl through intertwine their voices, weeping for company in this eternal dance of damnation. How they wallow in their misery, yearning to audit the memories of that birthed them. Do you recognize me? A ghost beckons, painted in the hues of love unrequited. Its form shivers as it struggles between existence and dissolution, a contage of passion, joy, and despair that once burned like wildfire across the breath of the soul. Can you hear my cries? Another whispers. Its fingers grasping at the heartstrings, it plucks mournful tunes, a melody of silence that only the heart can decipher. Notes rise and fall in heavy tears, shedding light upon fallen dreams and shattered joys. In the moonlit chapel of memory, the ghosts congregate. They gather like fragments of a shattered mirror, pieces of the past that cannot be undone. The haunts never fade, weaving a tapestry of heartache and regret, endless voices crying out for absolution. A bitter symphony of echoes that resolute through the hollow chambers of time. And still they linger, quivering memories wrapped in gossamer shrouds of shame and grief, unwilling to rest, unable to release, driven by the compulsion to haunt the one who created them. They bear the weight of past suspended, the lingering ache of unfinished business. They return like waves brushing upon the shores of a tortured heart, biting and recoiling in their ceaseless torment. But listen, my wandering soul, to the message that these ghosts bestow upon thee. Memories can be healed, hearts can be mended, and the cycle of pain may yet be broken. Just as the ghost rose from the ashes of bygone days, so too may you rise and soar above the graveyard of haunted memories. Let them not drag you back into the depth of despair, but rather learn from their lamenting whispers and find within yourself the strength to rise anew. For in the end, our ghosts are but memories we refuse to let go, scars we allow to fester. And only by accepting them as part of our journey and embracing the lessons they teach can we then find closure needed to lay them to rest and truly live life once more. Thank you.
Wow, dude, that was awesome. That was fucking, I mean, bone chilling. As it was both. It could be read in a poetry cafe or at a campfire. It had I almost want to say like a dark, like a Macbeth kind of vibe, like when he was I don't know if you've ever read Macbeth, but I don't know, I got like kind of this vibe of like when he was talking to the seers or whatever who gave him the
Yes,
prophecy.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I mean, I wrote down some of these lines. I love how you just described the ghosts and their pain, and the shadow of their past so viscerally. You said between existence and dissolution. One line that stuck out to me was a wildfire across the breath of the soul. They gathered in the moonlight chapel of memory. Like, just you're painting like these like amazing, vivid imagery, just like I was saying with Randall, with these metaphors, you're painting such a vivid picture. Pieces of a fractured mirror was a line that stuck out to me. I liked that symbolism, and how it can never truly be put back the way it's supposed to be. Um, you said the lingering ache of unfinished business. Um, and you just made me feel this visceral despair and this pain that these ghosts had. But then you ended it with this like uplifting message, right? You said memories can be healed, hearts can be mended. Let them not drag you back into despair. The only way we can grow as people and be better is by accepting our ghosts and our demons, as you said, accept them as part of your journey, and learn from their lessons, and that really at the heart is like you were saying at the beginning, it's a therapy for you, for me too. That's at the heart of what I do. It's using my darkness to fuel my light, using my darkness to push forward and be better and do greater things. And that's really what it's all about. And I love how you ended with that. You took us on this like kind of spooky, despair ridden journey, and then you ended with this positive message, but remember, don't let them drag you into the despair. Accept them as part of your journey, and then only then can we learn and grow from our demons and our ghosts. And I love that symbolism. That was fucking fantastic, man.
Well, you get your ideas from the strangest places. And I was watching that movie with Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost. I was watching the movie Ghost, and near the end, the bad guy's demons come for him, and those demons are, everything he's done wrong and bad in the past, and the look of terror on his face as they're dragging him to hell, and that's kind of what inspired this poem. We can either allow our demons to drag us down, or we could allow those experiences to be our strength. And that's kind of the message I was trying to get out. We all feel bad sometimes, and but we have that choice. Live for tomorrow, or live in yesterday, and tomorrow's always a lot brighter.
Absolutely. I 100%. I agree. I'm bringing these other artists up to see what they thought real quick. Randall, what'd you think?
That was beautiful. I really enjoyed that. Like the idea of, these ghosts auditing the memories that birthed them, sort of helped me realize, okay, what's going on with these ghosts. I really like when you started out sort of I want to say amorphous. I wasn't sure where you're going, and then you sort of grounded us with these spectral spirits, and then you gradually led us to understand that they are memories themselves. They really reminded me of in China, they have these mythical creatures called hungry ghosts, which are the souls of dead people who are longing for the life unfulfilled that they can never have. And then at the end, like a good parable, you went into pulpit mode and you sort of explained what the parable meant, and it was just an all-around experience, taking me through all of that. So congrats, that was awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Tasani, what did you think?
First off, I love your author name. It just sounds really cool.
Well, I stole it from television.
When I was listening to you, I like to listen to those like scary stories in the rain. Do y'all listen to those?
Yes.
Your voice is perfect for those.
Thank you.
But it was just like the perfect story. I was deep. I was into it.
Thank you. Thank
And the
you.
way you turned it around at the end really was just beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, there's always hope. I mean, when we're going through stuff, we don't. It's hard for us to see tomorrow, but there's always hope. There's always hope.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just think there's nothing else.
Right. Right.
We've all been there.
Oh yeah. I work in a jail now, and there's a lot of people there that, are just giving up. And I try to convey the message that no, you're not your past. You're not your past. So,
Yeah.
there and keep moving forward.
Oh, those mosquitoes.
I think you're on mute.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Me?
My bad. Sorry. I was going to say, yeah, I agree with you. You're not the worst things that have happened to you. You're not the worst things you've done. But those things do affect you, and those things do, you have to learn to just accept those things. They happened. You can't change them, but you can use what you learned from those experiences to be better in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastically. And the fact that it wasn't even a poem. It was a story, and that was just fantastic.
Thank you.
I loved it. Thank you for sharing that with us. We'll catch you again in a few.
You bet.
All right. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sonia is back in the circle. She's a poet and an energy reader. She does fantastic poetry and amazing. God, I had a brain cramp. Tarot card. There we go. That's what they're called. She does tarot card readings. I've gotten a reading. Another member of our community, Cage C, has gotten a reading, and they've both been very beneficial to us mentally and spiritually. So I encourage you to reach out to her and have her do a reading for you. You can reach out to her on Facebook and follow her at Tasanya Gray and on Instagram at Tasanya Rochelle, and follow her on TikTok at Tilly. It's a lot of Y's. It's TILL, I think it's 7 Y's, 8. I don't know. A lot of Y's. 3623. And that's on TikTok. So go follow her and check her out and hit her up if you want an energy reading. Let's play her fire and get her up here. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm gonna stop torturing you like that. I'm gonna change my TikTok.
I can't see how many Y's it is on the screen. It's like I have to get this on
It's
the
a
screen
lot.
to read it.
It's like 9, I think.
They kept telling you, no, somebody else has that name. Somebody else has that name. She just kept adding Y's.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, no, it's what it is. That's how my mom used to say it, Tilly, like that.
Oh, okay.
And,
all right. Well,
and the 3623, she passed away last year.
Oh, okay. Well, my condolences.
And so that's why I have it like that.
Oh,
but it is a lot.
Don't change it. Yeah, keep it in honor of your mama. She'd like that. And well, hey, at least I pronounced it correctly. Tilly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go. That's great. Well, it's great to have you back.
It's good to be back. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm gonna come on, and then I don't get to. So I'm glad I got to actually do it this time.
Yeah. No, you've been on quite a few times though, so people are definitely definitely familiar with you. But for those of us who don't know you, I don't know if Brandel and Ed have even ever met you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Tasanya. I am from New Mexico originally. I do tarot card readings. I'm an artist. I do resin art, memorial art, I write poetry. I try to write short stories, but sometimes it don't turn out that well.
Yeah, I feel you. I have I used to write a lot of fiction, but I've been like just so sunken into the like songs and poetry for the past year or so that I haven't really written much fiction at all. And I don't know. I got to get back into it and see if I can still do it or not. We'll see. It's
Oh,
it's probably
and the
it's
dream
probably like
is
riding a bike.
yeah, and the dream is to be a fashion designer. That's what I want to do.
Oh hell yeah! There you go. Hell yeah! You got to you. I forgot about the resin art. You gotta come show us that sometime.
I have a piece sitting beside me if we have a little extra time tonight.
All right, cool. What's the piece you're gonna read for us tonight?
The
First
first
piece,
one
I mean.
is roadside crosses.
Roadside crosses. All right, cool. I'll drop myself out of here and I'll let you get to it.
Okay, it's a short one. Memorials of wood or metal, two sticks or bars, flowers, names, lives lost, hearts broken, shattered glass, shattered lives, roadside crosses. The tale is sad. A man and a woman heading home from an anniversary dinner, a family heading home from vacation. Last words spoken. Were they flung in love or hate? Lights turned to dark. Moments, moments remembered and moments forgotten. Now just a snapshot in time, left along the side of the road. Wood or metal, just a roadside cross. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Short but deep and so meaningful. And I think that means a lot to a lot of people. And I I th- I that makes I think about that literally every time I drive past one. And to be honest with you, and I feel like I've driven past more and more in recent years. I don't know. You have to look up a statistic whether car crashes have gone up or whatever. But I feel like I've just noticed them more. Maybe it's just me noticing them more. But you did it like such an amazing job of just displaying the meaning in just this little piece of metal or wood. Just this, it's just a little piece of metal or wood, but it carries the weight of someone's world. You said lives lost, hearts broken. I was trying to, it was a short poem, so I didn't really get to write down most of the lines that caught my attention. But you know the especially the way you ended it, just a small piece of wood or metal, you know for you it may just be a small piece of wood or metal, but for someone else, like, that is
It's
someone, mom, dad, husband, brother, like that's their world, and someone's entire, like, and imagine that being on your regular route to work, like, after someone, you know what I mean? And a lot of the people that have to do, I mean, they probably have to drive past their, relatives, someone on a regular basis. It would honestly depend whether how far away they were from home, but I mean, the majority of crosses I see have regular like new, like, fresh flowers on them, and that means that unless these people are traveling like miles and miles and miles, like, this is close to home. You know what I mean? This is on their regular route to where, like, their local city or to their work or whatever, and they have to drive past this and be reminded of it every
mhm.
day. And I think about that every time I drive past one. It's heartbreaking, and you conveyed the heartbreak in that just so elegantly, and it was an amazing and beautiful piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna bring Randall and Ed up here to see what they thought about it.
Okay.
Ed, what'd you think?
Uh, the biggest problem with being a writer, it's also that means that you're an empath and you connect with feelings that maybe some other people don't. And I could imagine you driving down the street and seeing an accident, and it immediately absorbed your soul. The you wanted to get it's just really moving that because something that happens in a fraction of a second can have so much meaning and power to not only them but other people around them. And I think you conveyed that wonderfully.
Thank you.
And I imagine that you see that image in your mind a lot, and I understand that, and and in my opinion, that's a good soul.
Thank you.
Now, you use plain and concrete images in this little poem. We so often see these roadside crosses without really thinking about the whole complex lives that are the reason for them being there. I think you really bring attention and time to those markers of lost life through this piece. It was just so plain and direct that I don't think one could help but be moved by it.
Exactly.
I was riding with someone who had been drinking, and I was this close from becoming a roadside cross.
Wow.
Yeah, that'll wake you the fuck up. That'll wake you the fuck up.
That's exactly what it did.
If it happens to someone you know, or almost happens to you, and both are in my case are true for me. I've been in the car with many unsafe people, and I'm glad I'm still here. But also I have quite a few friends that and actually the friends that I know have passed away in car accidents. I don't know if they have a cross where they crashed. I'm not entirely sure. Both of them were more than an hour away from me. They live more than an hour away from me. So, but from the people I've talked to, I don't believe that either of them do, which is kind of sad. But I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have like a grave, and their families, have did that for them. But yeah, no, I think that it's somebody told me it made them feel like too like I forget who it was, but I was having a conversation about roadside crosses with somebody, and they were like, "That's just so morbid." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, to mark the spot that they passed away." Like, and I was like, "I don't think it's about that. I think it's about marking, the life that was like this is the last spot that this amazing beautiful thing was. You know what I mean? Like it's almost
Yeah.
like oh, celebrity touched this sweatshirt. I'm never gonna wash it again. You know what I mean? This is the last thing they touched. You know what I mean? Like I have things that my mom since my mom passed away, I've never washed it, not once.
I feel like you just said,
never wash it.
it's okay to. It's okay for people to encase a celebrity in glass, but it's not okay to mark,
Right? Yeah, we have the fucking Hollywood, the Hollywood fucking stars you can just pay and anybody can. It's not even about their success. Anybody can get a Hollywood star or whatever. And Hollywood stars are held like it's crazy that we look at Hollywood stars more than we look at gravestones and crosses, and that they somehow hold more meaning to us as a society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a beautiful piece. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. All right, we'll catch you again in a few minutes.
Okay.
All right, Randall, what do you got for us?
I've got a piece of a nonfiction called "Rant Against Myself." It was originally published in Culture Cult magazine back in 2019.
All right. All right. Cool. Both both published pieces. I like it.
Yeah. My best pieces are usually published. So
Well, congratulations, man. I can honestly, well, not none of my. I have a few published pieces, but like not the way I'd like them to be published.
oh,
But I have like some anthologies and like a magazine or two, but like I want to put out like my novella or my definitive like poetry book or what that's what I think of like that's my thing. But anytime an author comes on here, since I'm like not published at all, it just like blows my mind, and I'm just like,
a couple anthologies, a magazine or two. That's something. That's not nothing. That's
most of, and believe it or not, I haven't been published as an adult. Those were all as a teenager. yeah. I have not been. I've yet to be published as an adult. Those were all as a teenager.
Even more venues for your writing than you realize. Even more than when you were a kid, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But anyway, I'm excited to see this a rant against myself. I
will say it does start out with a quote from Ezra Pound's Hugh Selwyn and Mulberry, Life in Context. So from one of his cantos.
Okay, all right, I'll got myself out of here.
So we'll start with that. The age demanded an image of its accelerated grimace, something for the modern stage, not at any rate an Attic grace. Not certainly the obscure reveries of the inward gaze, better mendacities than the classics in paraphrase. The age demanded, chiefly a mold and plaster, made with no loss of time, a prose kinema, not assuredly alabaster, or sculpture of rhyme. Ezra Pound, Hugh Selwyn and Mulberry. In this slice of his farewell poem, Pound makes a pointed point about we scholars' abilities in an age where the modes of a scholarly erudition are being upset through various undermining tendencies of culture, negatively impacting our ability to absorb intellectual input and critically digest it. Well, we should be able to imagine the grimace on the face of Pound should he be alive to see the gutted remnants given as a course of scholarship for us to feed upon. Undoubtedly, the difficulties of Pound's abstruse verse, even at the time of its publication, necessitated research into his oft obscure references. However, I doubt he could have believed anyone educated in a university environment to need the type of hand-holding help demanded by we children of the modern Western culture, majority Philistine. Even us well-educated literary scholars of the millennial generation could not read this poem without footnotes upon footnotes, our educational foundations, not to mention our culture's very values toward the intellect, are so lacking. Yet you, Mr. Green, for all your ranting, once considered yourself to be traveling a path paved precisely for the educated critical thinker. It was a path of poetry. You were the poet who used to write with such overflowing elan as to make Wordsworth proud. You had this overflow of feelings, but you never saw the grass. No, you never saw the birds. And now your works have moved away from the sensitive soul to the articulate intricacies of the metaphor message. You embrace the intellectual, rational soul and will your way to the assumed highest good. Yet here you are, writing a rant worthy of a post-grad dropout drunken blog night, knowing your work will be rejected by many as wholly unreadable. You laugh at this because you have long since realized that you don't have the intellect yourself, as none of us seem to have. And yes, you will pull out a dictionary to understand your own work when a lack of using the big words eventually diminishes your understanding of them. So you say, to hell with it. And for once you write without inhibitions. You make an outline, begin to compose a new play claiming Dionysus to be the predecessor of Jesus Christ, a thing borderline blasphemous. But You've an inkling you've already been beat to it by pound, plus you've only had enough theater 101 to be precise, to understand that this is audacious, though to what extent you're unsure. It takes more to shock people today than boys wearing mascara. After all, we no longer turn into pumpkins at midnight. Rather, we turn into drag kings and queens, Rocky Horror Show style, and do the time warp thing again and again and again, etc. Hashtag nostalgic postmodernism. First, you're staring into your black mirror, looking to the inside. Now you turn to the bathroom mirror and see the outside reflecting the ideals of your heart, and your enlightened lips declare, Stein's The Making of Americans was the most insightful work I've ever read 14 pages of. And you were probably right, but here you are, an indecisive dolt claiming that there is an ever-repeating history of individual lives while embracing change in the self, and you go so far as to advocate a motto of making it new in an increasingly, and ironically, disconnected communities of our country? Reaction: blasphemous irreverence for blanket relativism. Because to make it new collectively, you strip away ego, and all must be ego, be you, like everybody else. Reaction: well, in that case, which ideology do I follow? I ask myself. There are many, I myself say. Which one is best? I ask myself. Depends on what you want, I myself say. What are the options? I ask myself. There are, I myself reply. The Reform Party, the Independent Order of Oddfellows, the Libertarian Party, Secular Student Alliance, Rationalism, Strict Pragmatism, Platonic Ideologies, the Earth's Liberation Front, Asceticism, Marxism, Hippie Communes, Utopian Societies, any number of non-suicidal cults, the Mars One Mission, Greenpeace, NAACP, the Rainbow Family, Burning Man, Counterculture Pilgrimages, the New Age philosophies, which include Theosophist spirituality, available in a variety of flavors, the most popular being YouTube chunks of cream. Can I join all? I ask myself. No, I myself say. There are too many views within ideals, within motives, within fallacies, within... I get the point. I say to myself, which one are you in? Well, I myself say, none of them fit me. None of them fit me all that well. Maybe I'll pull Rachel Dolezal and tan it up, and I'll go campaigning for an NAACP chapter presidency. Consequently, instead of learning how to take a stand based upon the foundations of a concrete body of knowledge, Mr. Green, you argue nihilism for Kate Chopin's The Awakening, a classic example of naturalism. While you may or may not have expertise on the subject, you may also have or not have a fear of being a product of your environment. You may be like Pollock, a closet nihilist, but aren't naturalism and nihilism one and the same? They both affirm as a logical datum of their theses that being desirous of a life of learning is completely meaningless. How sad is that? Not that they matter if they happen to be right, and not that they matter if they happen to be wrong. Either way, they're just as destructive as sitting around typing word after word that will never be fully read. And you do it because in the end, you don't understand anything any more than anyone else. Like Caliban, you are too earthbound and will never shine as serious for all to see. No, you waste your life learning things that will never fill the cup that needs to overflow to find a following. No, your works are lava in their pace, and so your ideas will go to waste. No, all your learning, churning, and yearning are not enough to sway a single heart, let alone a people or place. So all that's left to do is tug at the cord and unplug. Know this as an act of grace. Thank you.
God damn, dude, that was fucking awesome. That is some of the best intellectual comedy that I've heard. And I know it wasn't entirely meant to be a comedic piece, but it definitely struck that chord. It was definitely you found this great balance between comedy and comedy and satire, and deep intellectual. It almost felt like it was the future, and you created like an AI version of yourself, and like you programmed it to just outline all your flaws and make you better. And it felt like it was like a diss track, but like a diss track against yourself, but like an intellectual, like you were intellectually insulting your own intelligence. And I was just like blown away by it. I was just like, because it's kind of redundant in a way. You know what I mean? Because you're the one speaking, you're the one writing it, you're the one pointing out all these flaws, and I love where like you will pick up a dictionary, and then at the end you're like, because you don't understand anything any better than anyone else. Like, but the, you know, introspectively, it was so introspect. It had like so many layers. It was like I forget what it's called, but you know that mirror effect where it's a infinite reflections.
Oh yeah, where you put like the two mirrors of
Right.
each other. Yeah.
It felt spiritually and mentally, it felt like that. You know, it felt like multiple mirrors of yourself just reflecting back on each other.
Yeah, more like multiple classes at university
Yeah.
reflecting.
And yeah, and it did. It literally felt like you were like either an AI or you from another universe that became like you know, a professor with like a PhD or whatever. You were sitting down and you're like, listen, I'm gonna tell you how to become me in your universe.
Well,
But
before AI was a thing, there was the self-deprecating blog post, so that's
yeah,
definitely in here.
but there was something, though it was built around self-deprecation, it felt something about it felt uplifting and healing, and felt like you were learning and growing throughout the process by talking to yourself, by having this conversation with yourself.
Well, sometimes taking yourself down a notch, deflating your ego can
Mhm.
really help you, get back into like, humanity, and understands like, man, the doesn't matter how smart you are. It's what matters. What matters is your humanity. What matters is your bond with the common person. And you might have all these grand ideals, but if these ideals inflate that ego, then the ideals are false, and one should be chopping whatever you built up with that ego. It's up to you to chop it down. Other people can hurt you, but only you can truly dismantle it.
Yeah, yeah, and it is important to kind of knock yourself down a peg every once in a while, you know, and it keep. But I think that keeps you that's the best way to improvement. It keeps you wanting to be the best version of yourself. If you're always knocking yourself down a peg, then there's always a peg to go. You know, if you're always knocking down yourself, you know, there's always a step to go. So it always leaves room for improvement. You
Right.
know,
You're
uh,
humbling yourself and not making yourself feel bad, but finding
right?
humility.
Yeah,
That's a slight difference, I suppose, in what I'm talking about. I'm not just saying just tell yourself you're awful.
right.
Go eat some Krispy Kreme or whatever.
Right. I love the reference with the you it's what did you call it? Or YouTube.
Chunks of cream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. So many flavors, and I love that. That was fantastic. Fan fucking tastic, man. I really really loved it. I'm gonna bring these other artists up to see what they thought about it. Ed, what'd you think?
As a brand new graduate student, I just started working on my PhD. As I listened to you recite that, I was like, is this guy following me? Because I've asked myself those questions so many times. And so I identified with everything that you were writing there, the whole, am I a fraud kind of thing, feeling, because when I'm with one group of friends, they think I'm brilliant. When I'm at school, everyone's brilliant. So I'm nothing. So there's this balancing act that you're doing, and you're always questioning yourself, and you're always am I good enough? Is this good enough? and all that, and you never really know. And I
Which
think
hat is the real me?
right, exactly. So while I was listening to you, I was like, this guy gets it. This guy knows from where I'm coming from, and I really appreciated that. Thank you very much.
I relate to that quite a bit too, Ed. Especially doing this show. I mean, most of the people I have on this show are far superior intelligence to me, and I don't necessarily always just assume that like I'm the dumbest person in the room. I try to be the smartest person in the room, but I do always assume that I try not to underestimate anyone's intelligence,
Right.
and I always assume that until proven otherwise, anything I understand, the person I'm talking to also can comprehend and possibly more, and especially doing this show, it's like it blows my mind how intellectual a lot of the people I bring on the show are, and I think it makes me smarter.
It
To be
does.
honest.
It does. It's like
Tasanya. Sorry, go ahead.
when I was a kid, someone would always tell us, if you want to be a good basketball player, you play with people that are better than you. That's how you get better. You don't play with people that you could beat all the time. And so that's basically it.
Yeah, definitely. Tasanya, what do you think?
I love the way you created the dynamic between the professor and the student, and then between the student and their self. And then the way that you, in the end, it's like you really do got to just unplug. You can't give in to what everybody else says.
It's unplugging can be an act of grace, as the last line indicates.
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%. Absolutely. Fantastic piece, man. Fantastic. Thank you for coming on. If you could stick around to the end, that's great. We'll just thank you again before we head out. But yeah, thank you for coming on again, man.
You're welcome.
All right. It's going to bring us back around to Ed over here.
Hello. Well, this poem is one of the very first poems I've ever written. And I mentioned earlier, I use a pen name because when I first started writing, I would write about my personal life. And, you would post it on boards and stuff like that. And I didn't want, people to know that I was talking about them. So this way they didn't really know that it was me talking. But this is one of the first poems I wrote 8 years ago. Jeez.
All right, cool. What's the title?
I Will Love No More Forever. And it's part of, and I included it in my latest book, Chasing Smoke.
Chasing Smoke. All right, cool. I'll drop myself out of here. Make sure y'all go check out Chasing Smoke.
I will love no more forever. Beneath the shadows of this old scarred heart, in the corners of the soul where cobwebs gather, lurks a specter of unrequited love. Within these haunted halls of memory, breathes breaths once taken, shattering the silence, and now stiff whispers dancing in the wind. A dreamer, I once bestotted the transient touch, tangled in the threads of hollowed promise, weaving a tapestry of false comradeship. In the abyss of my own delusions, I swam against the current despair and choked on the salt of bitter tears. Yet through the haze of disenchantment, a beacon of strength and clarity emerges, and with it a metamorphosis. Enough. I relinquish the tethered chains that sought to bind me in love's torment, for they no longer serve to but wound me. Alone I stand, and yet no longer a captive to the ghost of affections unreturned. In solitude I find my serenity. Fare thee well, a sweet mirage of desire. The embrace of self-love now envelops me, a sovereign heart renewed in independence. Thank you.
I like that, man. I like that. That was it fit very well with what has seemed to be our theme for tonight, and just self-love and using your your flaws and your darkness or whatever to you know, be a better version of yourself and give yourself that love and you know, adoration that you need, because the first, how is anyone else going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself?
Exactly.
It was very short, so again, I couldn't write down all the lines that stood out to me, but one that or a few that did was you said, I stand alone yet no longer a captive. I thought that was a beautiful imagery, you know, just being, and we were talking about earlier, accepting the things that have happened, and not letting them take a hold of you and captivate you and make you a prisoner.
Right.
Yeah, I liked in solitude I find my serenity. That was a beautiful line. In the beginning, and I was trying to write them down, but it was too fast. In the beginning, there was these beautiful metaphors about you in being in an abyss of delusion, and choking on the salt of see, yeah, that's why I wanted to write it down. But you had these beautiful metaphors at the beginning that really, really captivated me. And then those were fantastically written. But just overall, the message of it, just yeah, fantastic. And you said you one of your first one of your first pieces of poetry that you wrote. That's, I
Yes.
mean, for a start in poetry, that is just leagues beyond where it should be. That is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Fucking tastic.
Well, I kind of cheated because I grew up in a house. My mother and my grandmother were both English teachers. So I grew up, I was reciting Othello when I was 10 years old. And a lot of my writing has, you could hear Shakespeare in a lot of my writing.
Yeah,
Because
no, I can tell. Yeah.
So
Definitely has a Shakespearean influence to it. You read Edgar Allan Poe?
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of
I
course.
can. I feel a little Edgar Allan Poe influence in your writing as well.
Thank you.
But yeah, Edgar, and that is the utmost of compliments from me, because he is one of my all-time favorite artists. Period.
I
So,
visited his gravesite years ago.
oh
Yeah,
wow,
well,
where is it? Where
in
is it?
Baltimore. Is
Baltimore. Okay, cool.
Yeah, in
Oh, that's
Baltimore.
awesome.
Yeah,
Was it
it was kind of creepy,
spooky?
but it was
Yeah,
really
was
cool.
it? I was gonna say, is it spooky?
Yeah. I mean, it's right behind this old church. Well, Baltimore is filled with these big old buildings and everything. And there was a wedding at the church where Edgar Allan Poe's grave was. And I was out back getting ready to take pictures of the bride and groom. And she said, the bride asked me if I saw any ghosts, would I tell them? And my response was, well, if you see me jumping over the fence, that will be your first clue. that because I don't do the ghost thing, but it was if a crow landed, I would have been gone.
I was just gonna say, if a raven or a crow land, and then I'm just picturing lightning and then
Exactly.
like
No, I'm out.
no. Peace.
We're gone. But they have a
Hell with
little
that.
fence. They have a little fence around it because I guess it gets a lot of visitors, and people leave weird stuff by it and stuff like that. So,
Oh, I bet. I bet. I mean, that's yeah.
yeah. But he's one of my
He,
favorite writers. I mean, something like The Raven. If I could write something like that, man, I'd be so
yeah.
happy.
That's I think that's why writers like Shakespeare and Edgar Allan Poe are so great, because their work holds up. It withstands the test of time. It
Yes.
is with that, and there are certain artists that come along, whether it's in music or whatever, that every once in a while you'll get an artist and they'll make music and you're like, this is gonna last forever. This is still going to be the standard that people are trying to live up to in 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 years. I mean, in rap with Biggie Smalls and Tupac, that is
Right.
still the standard That is still the standard that we are trying to get to.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, there's many examples in rock and roll too. I mean, it's like the Beatles. Everyone wonders why the Beatles, by the way, still the top selling music group of all time. The top selling, like, and whether you listen to the Beatles or you don't listen to the Beatles, the music, the what they're doing musically, same thing with you know, Pink Floyd or AC/DC or just what they're doing musically withstands the test of time, and is going to be the standard that people are trying to live up to. I mean, everybody on earth is going to try to play the guitar as good as Jimi Hendrix for the next 200 years. Yes. They're going to try. Everybody is going to try to play football as good as Tom Brady and no insult to anybody else's team, but just on a technical numbers standpoint, he was the best. I mean, with Eminem, if you look at his, whether you like him, don't like him, support him, don't support him, he is undeniably, on a numbers basis, he is the best top selling artist, and not just top selling rap artist, but he has been the top selling artist, period, multiple years in a row. And
well, especially his early stuff. I mean,
it's artists like this that are just going to cement the test of time. You know what I mean? They are the Edgar Allan Poe or Shakespeare of our time. You know what I mean? They're just going to be the golden standard, and we're always going to be trying to, you know.
Exactly. And I don't, the ability to use words to convey more than just the words are saying. And that's the goal that I'm striving for. I want people to be able to read what I have written and understand what was beneath that. And that's what I'm trying to learn. That's what I'm trying to teach myself. So I read, you know, Poe and Shakespeare. I read as much as I can of people who say things without saying it. It's in the lyrics. It's in the meter. It's in, you know, it's in the rhythm of what they say. And that's what I'm trying to learn to do.
And the way I was talking with my sister about this, I brought her to a concert for her birthday last week, and I was telling her how, you know, I take influences from everywhere, all, you know, music, books, and everywhere. But the cool thing is the artists that I'm taking inspiration from are also taking inspiration from everywhere else. You know, so it's this big mashup of, you know, and they're like, there would, like, when you look at, like, if you pick out Eminem, you could say, okay, yeah, but there wouldn't be any Eminem without Dr. Dre, and you know, and then you could trace that back, and then you could go like, one of my favorite bands is Shinedown. You could say there wouldn't be any Shinedown without, like, you know, Skinner, or, you know what I mean, like, but it's because and there wouldn't be any us without Shakespeare and Edgar Allan Poe, and you know what I mean? And I probably wouldn't have started writing if I hadn't listened to Eminem or read the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. You know what I mean? Like, two vastly different pieces of work, but two, you know what I mean, huge influences. And that's what makes art so great, is because it's drawn from everywhere.
Exactly. My biggest fear sometimes, because I'll read something and then 5 years later I'm writing something, and I fear that what I've just written was inspired by what I wrote, what I read 5 years ago. And but it creeps in. I mean, an idea, for example, will just creep into your head, and then later you're like, yeah, but that story was a lot like this other story that I read years ago. So that's my biggest fear. At what point am I borrowing too much from, you know, things that I've read before?
I don't think there's any point. I think that it's our job. I often say that we are like universe batteries. We're conduits. We draw in. We're just, you know, we draw in this energy from the universe, and we put it out through our art. You know, we're just channeling
Yes.
the universe, where the universe is speaking and we're speaking outward. Randall had a line where he was talking about you haven't seen the grass and the birds, and I mean that's what being an artist is about, is absorbing the universe around you and conveying it through your art, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I,
But yeah,
and I agree. It's just a fearful struggle of mine sometimes. I
yeah,
wrote
no,
a story called The Fog last year, and it was nothing like Stephen King's The Mist, but it just had fog in it, and I was worried that maybe I stole it from The Mist, and while it was two different stories, but it's one of those things that we torture ourselves with that maybe we shouldn't.
yeah, no,
So,
I understand that. I understand that. I'm gonna bring these other artists up and see what they think about it. Tasani, what'd you think?
I think the way that you connect with the dark and the light aspects of yourself, it shows so well in your readings.
okay.
Like the fact that you are, you know, it's like you have an energy that that a lot of people don't accept. They don't accept their darker half, but you embrace yours, and you can tell in your writing.
Thank you. That's interesting. I
Yeah.
like that. Thank you.
I definitely agree with that. And I like when an artist is able to do that. That's something that is, I mean, the main part of my art is, you know, embracing my dark half and letting it balance out the light.
It's interesting. I'll have to bring that up to my therapist. See what she said.
Yeah.
Oh, Ed, one thing you should probably check out is Harold Bloom's book, Anxiety of Influence.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, and he comes to the conclusion that anxiety is ultimately good for the artist, and in the end helps him strive to make something better than his predecessors, or at least attempt to. So, and it's that attempt that counts. Climb a bit higher of a peak than the people before you, trying to do something different, and even you know, artists swearing off, being like, "No, man, I've never read this author they are totally obsessed with." Type of thing. So, yes,
But you quoted him directly.
Yeah. I think another book, before I forget it, that you should check out. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh.
And the philosophy is not about how to not give a fuck, but it's about how to give a fuck about the right things and focus your energy towards improving the things that you think are the most important and that you hold the dearest, you know, whether it be your art or your family life or whatever, and fuck all the other shit. You know what I mean? My mom used to say, there are people that matter and there are people that don't. And the best thing about life is you get to decide who those people are. And the people who don't matter, and you decide they don't matter, they can't hurt you. And it goes the same thing for, you know, different anxieties and demons that we have in our life. It's like, listen, if I decide, you know, that doesn't hurt me anymore, these demons can't hurt me. You know, I have to decide what I give a fuck about improving, what I give a fuck about, you know, and fuck the rest of the anxieties, because they're only going to pull you down and cause you to spiral and be the worst version of yourself, you know?
Right.
But yeah, no, definitely check out that book too.
Sure will.
In regards to your poem, you know, it's about unrequited love, and whether that unrequited love is someone at a distance or someone in your own household, a spouse. I love how you end with, you know, being able to be alone and finding strength in that. And you mentioned Shakespeare. Speaking of influences, as an influence, I was hearing some outside of the poetry, some of the imagery just reminded me of like a Pilgrim's Progress. I was like, oh man, this is a guy going on a pilgrimage away from despair. And I'm thinking, you know, the giant despair from Pilgrim's Progress. You mentioned the river despair, and I'm just like, yes, I know where this is going now. He's you know, he's got an uphill battle, and instead of going up the hill, he's swimming against the current. So absolutely lovely imagery.
Thank you very much.
Uh,
That's
The
the
way
English
you
teachers in my household talking to me.
the way you ended it, where you said, self-love, that a lot of people don't understand. Self-love is the most important thing,
Right.
because how can you expect somebody to love you if you don't love yourself? And it took
Exactly.
me a really long time to learn that.
I just learned it a couple of days ago. No, it's been a long lesson. I had a lot of demons for a very long time, and
Hmm.
funny story. I spent most of my life preparing to meet one specific demon in my life, and then when I ran into that demon, because in my mind they were a million feet tall and built like a house, and then when I ran into them, they were this little tiny person, and I realized I wasted a large part of my life preparing myself for confronting someone that isn't worth my time. And that's when I started realizing I got to find my peace in myself. I can't prepare myself for other people that don't matter.
Yep, we will have entire scenarios, whole conversations played out in our heads over
Exactly.
something that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
well,
Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to say this, then I'm going to say that.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
this is
yeah.
how they're going to react and
I have
everything.
that has caused so many arguments with my girlfriend because me and her both do that to each other. We're like, no, I already had this conversation with you in my head. I already know how it went. I'm not even gonna bother to ask you. I already know how this. I mean, and I mean, me and my girlfriend have known each other for 10 years.
Mhm.
So and dated most of that time. So like most of the time we are right, but like it's a bad habit to get into. It's a bad habit to get into, assuming you know what's going on in someone
Yes.
else's brain,
Oh,
and just
please.
having that. But that's what our anxiety does. That's you
Mhm.
know
Mhm. Mhm.
that's
But
what
that's why
anxiety
we
is.
write, right? That's
Yeah,
that's that's our
yeah,
that's our therapy, so we can talk ourselves through these issues.
absolutely, absolutely. I agree. Well, thank you for that piece, man. Stick around to the end so we can thank you one more
Of
time,
course.
and we'll get on to Miss Desanya, and I'll do one more piece, and we'll get out of here. What do you got for us?
This one is called Homemade Sin.
Homemade sin. All right, I'm gonna drop myself out of here and let you get to it.
Okay. A look shared or a head hung in fear. Hands crumpled from years of work. A face streaked with 4 years of dirt. A system too rich to care, or a people too afraid to stand. A world where someone has to win, or the fact that now your enemy is also your best friend. Is it the fact that sex is easy and love is rare? Or maybe the fact that drugs are in higher demand than food, being pushed by the same government that would rather lock a man up for life for selling weed rather than murdering a child? Is it the hate you see in a stranger's eyes just because your hair, skin, eyes, clothes, hell, the air you breathe is somehow not as good as theirs? A world falling, a people falling, a hope lost, faded like an old Polaroid, cracked, worn over with age. It seeps within your it seeps within your pores like the sun on the Sahara. Sorry. Unforgiving, dangerous, fatal. It's thick. It has its own pulse. This is the thing that runs deep, tangled up, generation to generation. Closed doors and dusty rugs, old straw brooms worn to the handles. I love using sideways looks around company. Two pairs of eyes, one a warning, the other a plea. This is the thing that this is the thing that lingers in the air, attracts like a leech, attaches like a leech, feeding on blood that doesn't belong to it. I watch as it latches onto another unwilling participant, a victim in the moment, but not for long. A victim is no longer a victim once they choose to repeat the cycle. But as it is, Once enough people believe a lie, it becomes the truth. And what do you live for, if not the truth? It's slippery in its descent over him, slick, caressing him gently, poking, prodding, looking for a crack it can slip into. There, a weakness. Expose it, rub it raw, crack, crack, shattered. His resolve scattered on the floor, thousands of glittering pieces of who he used to be, now no more than a seed planted in the soil, fertilized by the hate of others, feeding on it like a baby from its mother's breast. Believe in the benefits, believe in the cure, believe the doctors, believe the religion. Roots sprout, take take hold in the ground. Hate runs deep, so does stupidity. Tears fill my eyes as I choke back the bile in my throat. Another life lost as homemade sin takes root. Thank you.
Wow. That was beautiful. And I mean, kind of well, I mean, not eye-opening for me, because I think about a lot of these things from day to day, but like at the beginning, some of the things you were one of the, especially the line that stuck out to me was that sex is easy and love is rare. That is so true. And just the way you went about highlighting the problems of our society and how we've just become such, so complacent and docile about even trying to fix any of our flaws. You said drugs are in higher demand than food. That is, I mean, the fact that that is a true statement is fucking just
It's sad.
appalling
It's,
and mind blowing.
yeah,
And yeah, it's very, very
it's
sad.
horrible.
And I mean, and the fact that, we have such a homeless problem, and then those, uh, uh, a vast majority of homeless people are using any money that's given to them to spend it on drugs because they now have
Yeah.
an addiction. They now have an addiction, and it likewise, we give people painkillers to purposely, we purposely hook people on painkillers so that they'll keep spending all their money on
Hmm.
drugs. And they want us, these like phased little zombies that just spend all our money. But
They
I
get
love
you addicted to one thing to get you addicted to another thing to get you addicted to another thing.
mhm. I loved some of your like imagery, like when you said like a faded old Polaroid, um and the imagery of like the sideways looks at like family gatherings, or like when you have company around, that made me feel like the tension and the, like there's all, like, we all know the world's fucked and we're not talking about it, and it's sad, and it's just kind of like the big elephant in the room,
Hmm. That
I
and
love the
it's
words you
like
use. Go ahead, sorry.
with that line, it was like, people sweep things under the rug all the time, or what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors, stuff like that. And like you say, if you don't get it out, then it's never going to be talked about.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I loved some of the verbiage used, unforgiving and fatal, and also the imagery of a leech, the whole leech imagery feeding off of blood that doesn't belong to it, and the the final line that I had written down here that was probably the one that stuck out to me like the most out of all of them, um was a victim is no longer a victim once they choose to repeat the cycle. That fucking hit me hard because, like, we all say, bullies are only bullies because they were bullied once. Well, it doesn't make it right. A victim is no longer a victim once they choose to repeat the cycle. That is fantastic. And that goes for not just, people in their everyday life, but our government. We're repeating mistakes made in history, throughout history, over and over and over and over again for the last 200-300 years. And it's like, what the fuck, I that was a beautifully phrased.
Thank you.
I want that. Like, I want a banner of that. Fucking victims are no longer victims once they make me a t-shirt. I need a t-shirt. Print that on a shirt.
I can actually do that.
Fuck yeah. I'm gonna bring Ed and Randall up to see what they thought about it.
Okay.
Ed, what'd you think?
Homemade sin. That is a phrase my grandmother used a lot. Your homemade sin, and your whole poem filled my brain with imagery of her and her house, and because we were a very closed family, we didn't know anything about our family history because no one was allowed to talk about family. And when my grandmother died, as a matter of fact, my mom went to close out her bank account, and they asked my mother, well, how do you want that cash or want those funds? And my mom said, well, just give me cash. And the lady started counting out $100 bills, one after the other, one after the other. And after she passed $10,000, my mom asked, what the frack are you doing? And the lady said, there's $50,000 in this account. We had no idea my grandmother had any money whatsoever because we did not talk about that in our family. Family tragedies, family scandals, none of that was ever talked about.
It was swept under the rug.
It was swept under the rug. So, and then it just got repeated and repeated and repeated. And so I identified Trump with that poem from the very first phrase. I mean,
Thank you.
I could smell my grandmother's kitchen in your poem. And thank you for that.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
The sense that I had is that this poem, it really started out with a lot of little phrases. I've heard similar things on, like, Facebook post, a meme, sort of these inspirational or thought-provoking things, and then you sort of combine them all and you tether them together, and then you start to paint this image of this leech going into this victim, and then this person, as you said, victim's no longer a victim once they choose to repeat the cycle, and you show the way down in order to give us a warning, and it's with that warning and the plea you had mentioned. I thought it was very cleverly done. There's a lot
Thank
more
you.
home than I can possibly grasp in one listening. Sure.
That's why they're
It's probably
recording.
one of
They
the
go on
longest ones I've
Spotify
written.
and everywhere else. I definitely go back. I mean, putting them on Spotify and all the other platforms. I mean, I say Spotify because that's the one that I use personally. But it's as much as for my benefit as everyone else's, because that's something I love to do, is go back and give a second and a third listen and really break you guys' pieces down and absorb them more. And like I said, it makes me smarter and it makes me a better artist. Learning from you guys, it makes me better. So yeah, I mean, if you want to listen to her piece again, it will be up on Spotify either tomorrow or Monday. So yeah, and everywhere else.
I just love that all of y'all are published. My goal, hopefully, I would love to be published by the end of the year. I want to write 100 poems by the end of the year and get them published. But I don't know where to start as far as that goes. Besides
Solid
writing.
goal. Solid goal. We believe in you. Lostboys are behind you. We got your back.
You can do it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm gonna do a if I can talk. I'm gonna do one piece. I'm gonna get us out of here. My audience has probably heard this piece many, many times, but due to my situation over here in my face, I'm just gonna do one that I know off the top of my head and that's easy for me. And just so happens it fits with the theme of everything we've been talking about tonight. As far as battling your inner self and using your inner demons and your inner darkness to be better. And so this is kind of my rant against myself. And it's called Speaking to Demons. Brandon, can I get a title up here? There you go. Thank you. All right. And I think I have the artwork too. Oh yeah, I got the artwork for it too. So I'll pop that up. This is Speaking to Demons. Listen up, Dylan. I'm talking to you. It's 3 a.m. and it's dark in our room. Go put on your coat and put on your shoes. Pull up your hood now. Let's walk in the moon. I don't know where we're going, but we'll get there real soon. You told me to sleep, but I'm just not in the mood. You're not in the mood? You got attitude? Well, I basically ruined my life because of you. I was stuck in the dark with no light because of you. So I'm trapped with no sight and I can't ever move so it feels like you're holding me down while I'm bleeding so you can just feed from my wounds. Me feeding on you? Nah, it's the opposite, dude. You're constantly feeding on demons and darkness to bring out the artist in you. Then you have the balls to blame all the trauma for bothering you? Be honest, you live for the drama. Why else would you let yourself argue with you? I live for the drama. Well, that might be true, but you're keeping us spinning and stuck in this loop. You let the hate drive the things that we do, and that's why we can't forget all the things we've been through. And while I've got your attention and we're spitting the truth, let me just mention that you're who's to blame for the drugs and the booze. Tell me again, I don't follow. I made you pick up the bottle? I made you tip it back, sip it, and swallow? Don't give me that shit, bitch. We all know you're addicted to shit, and since you were a kid, you've been trying to fill it because your soul is so empty and hollow. It's empty of all the ones you pushed away because you keep us consumed by the anger and hate. And I'm so dazed and confused as of late because when we look at her girl, she just looks away. And her sister, she'll barely ever speak to our face. So look in the mirror and see what you made. You made up our bed and we can't go to sleep. See what I made? We did this together. I'm part of you, so you're not any better. Don't you dare try to blame me for the fact that your life has been splitting apart. I did what it took to get us this far. I fueled the passion in all of the bars and showed all of them who we really are. Now you're trying to tell me I took it too far and the things that you think are just getting too dark? Well, answer me this. What are you going to do when the demons are gone? Because no one wants to see happy. They want all the scars. They want you to show them the cracks in your heart. You're not Eminem and you're not fucking Tom. Can you really handle this shit when the pressure is on? When the pressure is on, it's on all the time. That's how I know that I'm a diamond. That's how I know that I'm one of a kind because it made me a diamond and I'm going to shine. And I don't need to be Marshall McDonald. I know all their rhymes. I could spit you a cover of some bars that aren't mine, but I need to uncover the shit that's behind the mental imbalance I feel in my mind. It's why I picked up a pen at just 9, channeled those feelings and started to write. It's why all of my dreams are now finally in sight. So I guess I did need the darkness to get to the light. There you go, Dylan. You finally admit it. You channel me every time that you're spitting. Even the parts that you spit in this song. You know it's my voice that's been there all along. So tell him I'm the reason you're not sleeping at night. I can see that you blame me, so tell him I'm evil and ruined your life. You can look in the mirror and get sick at the sight, but you know that you need me to reach to new heights. And that's the reason your demons are winning the fight. So just deal with the fact that you're nothing without us, all right? And that's just a sneak peek of the things my demons all say when they're speaking to me. And as you can see, my demons and me, we don't always agree. They take all the credit for what I've achieved and make me feel helpless and weak at the knees. So sometimes it's hard to just stay on my feet while I'm fighting this darkness like an evil disease. But it'd be a lie if I said it's not just what I need to master my craft and succeed at my dreams. So till the day I can't breathe, go blind and can't read, or the ink of my pen will no longer bleed, I guess I'll just keep on speaking to these. And that is Speaking to Demons. Kind of. I fucked it up a little bit, but... What do you guys think?
Powerful.
Very, very powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, I figured that kind of fit with the theme of what we were kind of talking about tonight. And You inspired me to do that with your rant against myself. As soon as you did rant against myself, I was like, oh, I didn't really have one picked out for tonight, and I was just like, oh, yeah, I got to do Speaking of Demons. It fits
Well,
for sure.
I don't think I've ever tried to do something like that. I think I'm gonna try to do something like that.
Heck yeah, you should. Wow, that piece, it definitely had, the talking to yourself aspect, but it also had, the ghostly demonic aspect of being haunted, from Ed's pieces, and the self victimhood from Tasania's pieces. So wow, that was a perfect ending piece there.
Yeah, thank you. I like I said, it's I'm heavily influenced by Edgar Allan Poe and Eminem. I've talked about, and I think you can see that in this piece especially. And I even mentioned him in the piece. But there's a few different artists that have made this type of song where they're essentially speaking to their inner demon or whatever. And two artists off the top of my head are Eminem and Tom McDonald. They've both made Eminem's is called My Darling, and then Tom McDonald, I believe, is called I can't remember which one. But anyway, I've heard like 5 or 6 of them from multiple different artists throughout my life, and it was just always a dream of mine to I was like, this is gonna be my passion project, and I plan to make like a part 2 to that, and possibly like a part 3 as well. But that's like one of my favorite pieces because it's just like it's easy. That piece just it wrote itself, man. It was literally just I was just voicing the back and forth in my head. It just wrote itself, And
Isn't it
speaks for
amazing?
Are you familiar?
Sorry.
Well,
Ed first. You spoke first.
Isn't it amazing how when you're writing, you're not writing sometimes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start out with one idea, then all of a sudden you're a paragraph in and somebody else is writing. The words are coming down on the page and you have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with Randall at the beginning of the show is, that's the most important thing for me is to just kind of let that energy from the universe take over, let myself be a conduit, let the characters, in this case, the character they're both myself, but they're different versions of myself,
Right.
And I just let the characters take over and write for themselves. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Thank you. I appreciate you
scary
noticing that.
Yeah.
Dasania, what was your question?
Are you familiar with an artist named Ren?
What's that again?
Are you familiar with an artist named Ren?
Ren?
REN.
It sounds familiar. I feel like it's crossed my Spotify something at some point. I listen to a lot.
He's got a back and forth song like that as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to go check that. Just REN, just Ren.
Yeah.
I'll go check that out right after.
I'll send it to you
Yeah.
I'll send it to you on Facebook.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
The video of him in the asylum. It's great.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, I have one of my favorites, and I listened to when I was younger, my brother played a lot of very underground rap or whatever, and it just so happened that when he found this rapper Hobson, he was underground. Now Hobson is now super famous and everybody knows him, but my brother found him back in 2007, 2008. Back when he was underground. He did this song with at the time his best friend Swizz. That's his name. It's not his actual name, but and it was them in a mental asylum. And Hobson was locked in the mental asylum, and then the embodiment of hip hop. So you had Hobson dressed in his nightgown or his hospital gown or whatever, and then you had Hobson dressed in sunglasses and a hat and a leather jacket and just being the embodiment of hip hop, and it was him speaking to hip hop as an entity, and just and it was him and Swizz speaking to the entity of hip hop or whatever, and just outlining all the flaws and the reasons why their shit should be basically people should be listening to their shit instead of the garbage that's out there right now. But it was so elegantly done, the back and forth with hip hop and Joyner Lucas does that in a lot of his songs. Joyner Lucas is probably the one that does that the best, where he goes back and forth between, one perspective and another perspective, like I'm not racist, or the one where that kid got shot in the head. That's actually a true story. I forget what he named the song after the kid. But basically this kid got caught up in a bunch of gang violence, and his friend, who he thought was his friend, took him out to the ghetto and shot him in the head with a shotgun. And it turned out to be his gang initiation. And Joyner Lucas did this thing where he did the first verse of the song from the perspective of the kid who made friends with the kid. And then the other perspective was the gang member who was pretending to be friends with the kid so that he could take him out and kill him as part of his initiation. And it was just, and Joyner Lucas has maybe like 10 songs like that where it's just these two vast different perspectives. And, that's just like one of my favorite things to do as a writer, when you go back and forth between two different perspectives and really feel, both sides. Jim Butcher, I was talking about the Dresden Files, but he also has a series called the Allura Codex series. And that series is famous for having like a lot of viewpoints. And the best thing that I think he did was incorporating the villains' viewpoints into his work as well. But yeah, that's just one of my favorite things to do is when you can bounce off these two viewpoints and see both sides as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
That's an idea. I'm gonna have to try to incorporate something like that.
Yeah, I got both of you. I got both of you inspired to write stuff. Hell yeah. Maybe next time we meet up, we'll have something new. But thank you guys so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. It's been great, and I can't wait to have you guys back on again. Hit me up on Facebook if you want to come on. Hit me up if you want to do a Deep Cuts episode with me at some point. And just stay tuned, stay a part of the community. It's great to have you as part of the community, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's good to be on here again.
Yep, save me $200 in therapy today. This is great.
Absolutely, it's our weekly therapy session. That's what it's for. Hell yeah! Thank you guys. Thank you. Everybody, make sure y'all go subscribe. Check out our Deep Cuts. Check out our Lost in the Woods thing. Follow us on all these platforms. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, follow us on all these platforms that you see in front of you right here. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Either tomorrow or Monday, I will post this episode on all those platforms for you all to listen to. And stay tuned and check us out next week at 9 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Peace out, guys.
Thank you.